In this section, we're going to work with some unit conversion, all right? So units. Units are super important when we're talking about measurements, all right? So here we have a circuit board. This circuit board is 15 inches by 11 inches, okay? And so that's standard measurements or English measurements, but we want to convert these to centimeters, metric measurements, okay? So the key is when we're talking about converting measurements, we call this dimensional analysis. So the key to dimensional analysis is the dimensions. So if we take some dimension like 11 inches, and we want to convert this to centimeters. Now the key is that when we're multiplying fractions, we're going to multiply by conversion factors, and the units will cancel in the same way that numbers cancel. So a little side example, if we have 12 fifths times 5 over 13, well, whenever we have 5 on top and a 5 on bottom, or any of the same number, these numbers cancel. They just make 1, and we multiply straight across. We have 12 times 1 is 12. 1 times 13 is 13. So these guys canceled out. Okay, we call that cross-canceling. So whenever we have the same thing on top, same thing on bottom, they cancel. Well, watch what happens when we do these units. We want to end up with centimeters, okay? So we want our answer to be in centimeters. So I like to write this out. We're going to multiply by a conversion factor. This is a fraction. I'm going to make a fraction here in a second, and I want to end up with something centimeters. And I like to put this out here to remind myself that's what I want to end up with. So we're going to ask ourselves, well, I want to get rid of IN, the actual letters, the units, inches. So just like here, if I have 5 on top and 5 on bottom, they cancel. Well, here I have inches, and it really is on top because I can always take any fraction, I can put it over 1. So I have inches on top, I'm going to write inches on bottom. The first thing to do is to figure out the units. Okay, so when we're doing a dimensional analysis here, we want to line up the units. So I'm going to want inches on top, so I want inches on bottom because I want those to cancel. They're going to cancel. All right, and then if I put inches on bottom, I want to leave it with centimeters. In the end, I want centimeters. That's what I want to end up with at the end there. All right? So, now the question is, I don't want to change the value. This is 11 inches. That's what it is. Okay? So I got to multiply by some fraction that is really, that will not change the value. And the only fraction that I can multiply by that won't change its value is something that is equal to 1. So I need to find out what centimeters and inches are. How many centimeters are in an inch, that is. Okay? So what is our relationship, I should say. So, centimeters to inches. Well, let's look. This is a length thing. Here's some relationships. Now, this page is in the back of your book. It's in page 132. Okay? And we notice that 1 inch is the same as 2.54 centimeters. That's the conversion we want to use. 1 inch is approximately equal to 2.54 centimeters. So we're going to come over here, and we know that 1 inch and 2.54 centimeters is the same. So this fraction here is super important here. This fraction is worth 1. And anytime I multiply something times 1, it's not going to change the value. Now it's going to change the way it looks, but it's not going to change its actual value. All right? So this is going to cancel out the inches. The only units left are centimeters. Okay, so we cancel everything that's the same on top and bottom. And we got to multiply 11 times 2.54, so we'll let the calculator do the work there. 11 times 2.54, and we get 27.94. All right, so 27.94. Okay, well, what about the other one? What about 15 inches? Okay, so let's start with 15 inches this time. Again, we want this to be equal to some centimeters. So we're going to need a conversion factor. Okay, it might be helpful to write this as a fraction. We remember I want to get rid of the units IN, so I'm going to put inches on the bottom. What units do I want to keep? Centimeters. And I have the conversion factor of inches to centimeters. I know that connection. Okay, I know the relationship there. So I know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Okay, so again, the inches are going to cancel. I'm just left with centimeters. So we're going to multiply 15 by 2.54. And that's 38.1. Okay, so we multiply by a conversion factor, and that gets us there. Now, sometimes we're going to need to multiply by more than one conversion factor. Okay, and we're going to have to kind of piece this together to make the units work right. Okay, so here's a problem. We've got a beam of Douglas fir, okay, and it weighs 36 pounds per cubic foot, okay? So we'll need the volume of this here, and then we can figure out the weight of this beam, because we've got to support it. We've got to make sure our supports can hold this up when we put this beam up in our house. All right, now volume, we'll worry more about volume later, but volume of a rectangular prism like this is 7 times 16 times 144, length times width times height. And it looks like that gives us 16,128. And that was inches times inches times inches, so our units is cubic inches for volume. Okay, again, don't worry about finding that too much. That formula is in the back of the book, but that'll be given to you for all the problems that we're doing right now. But all right, we've got that. So 16,128, that's the volume. So here's what we're going to do. We want to convert this. We want to find the weight. Okay? So the weight is pounds. Okay? We have cubic inches. So let's start with 16,128. So we have, that's what we need to start with, 16,128. And that is cubic inches. Whoops. All right, now this is actually a conversion factor that's given to us. All right, so we have some conversion factors that are useful to us. I'm going to write this down kind of separate for the moment. Okay, so we have 36 pounds per cubic foot, or really that's 1 cubic foot. Okay, so there's a connection. 36 pounds is the same as 1 cubic foot, but we don't have cubic foot. We have cubic inches. Well, so what we need to do is I need to change cubic inches. I want to get rid of cubic inches. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to multiply by a conversion factor. I want to get rid of cubic inches. Now, cubic inches is on top of the fraction. If you don't see the fraction, we can always change any number, whole number, into a fraction by putting it over 1. I want to get rid of the IN cubed, okay? Because I need cubic feet. This deals with cubic feet to pounds, but I'm in cubic inches. So what I'm going to do is we're going to multiply by cubic inches. Okay, and I want to get rid of that. That's going to get rid of cubic inches, and I want to be left with cubic feet, because I know something about cubic feet. Okay, now I'm going to come back and fill in numbers. Well, let's look up those numbers. I think I have those numbers. Cubic inches to cubic feet, that's a volume thing. So volume conversions are listed on page 132 here. There are 1,728 cubic inches in a cubic foot. 1,728 cubic inches in 1 cubic foot. Now, because we put the units there, if I accidentally do this, 1,701, I can realize, wait a minute, I put that in the wrong place. Is it true that 1,728 cubic feet is equal to 1 cubic inch? Now, a cubic foot is a box that's 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. If you have 1,000 of those boxes, that is not the same as one box that's a cubic inch by a cubic inch by a cubic inch. All right, so I wrote it wrong. Now I can catch myself because I first wrote the units. This is why it's really important to write the units first. Okay, so we're going to have 1 cubic foot. 1 cubic foot is 1,728, or 1,728. Okay, well, if I stop here, then all I have left is cubic feet. Well, I want to get rid of cubic feet. I don't want cubic feet. I'm trying to get weight. Weight is pounds. So I want to convert cubic feet to pounds, and we have that. That was given to us in the problem there. So 36 pounds is the same as 1 cubic foot. Okay. Now we have everything we need as far as the units go. Okay, because these units are going to cross out. Cubic feet crosses out with cubic feet, and the only unit that's left is pounds. Okay, so when we multiply this out, we're going to have an answer in pounds. Okay, now how do we multiply this out? Well, the key here is that when we're multiplying by 1 over 1,728, that's the same as dividing. Okay, and just to kind of clear that up, if I have 8 times a half, 8 times a half is 4. That's the same as 8 divided by 2. Okay, so multiplying by a half, 1 over 2, same as dividing by 2. So what we're going to do here is this. Okay, multiplying by 1 over 1,728 is the same as dividing. Okay, and so we're going to take these numbers, we're going to take the 1,628, and we're going to divide that by 1,728. Now, actually, if you're using this Desmos calculator, you could type it in just like it is. 1,628 over 1 times 1 over, okay, times 36. And there's our answer. Again, we could have done this. Desmos kind of makes these fractions when you hit divide. So for this particular calculator, Desmos, if you want, just kind of multiply it. You don't have to put the over ones, and we're not putting the units in there. But so 33.9 pounds, okay? You know what, that doesn't sound right. Did you catch my mistake? This is actually 16,128. Let's fix that. That's going to make a bit of a difference. 336 pounds. That's a big difference, okay? So 10 times bigger. So this is 336 pounds. All right, so that's the idea, 336 pounds. Okay, so this just takes some practice. Okay, the key again is this. All of these fractions are worth 1. All these fractions will be 2 sides of the relationship that comes from our conversion tables. Okay, these conversion tables become these fractions, okay? And how do we decide which one goes on top and which one goes on bottom? That all depends on which units we want to keep and which units we want to get rid of. So whatever we're starting with, we got to get rid of that, change it to something new. And we might have to get rid of that and change it to something new until we end up with the unit we're looking for. All right. So again, it takes practice. So keep practicing, you'll get it.